there, welcome to my channel, or welcome back, I guess. Um, oh yeah, feel free to subscribe if you're interested in any of these things right here, and if not, that's fine. Also, like, returning viewers, hey, what's up? How are you guys doing? I'm just trying to, like, touch up my makeup. That's how all of these videos start, ironically, is that I'm up here alone trying to touch up my makeup before I go off and do other things with my life, which is funny. I don't know. To me, it's kind of fun. So I like doing that. But yeah, hi. Well, today is September 30th, whenever I am recording this, and I woke up late. Let's start off with that. I woke up extraordinarily late. No alarms. I guess I needed the sleep, but it felt like I could sleep forever. It was a very strange feeling this morning, but it was nice. It was nice slumbering and being in the deep, rich, dark velvet of sleep with no dreams. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very nice to me. It's very relaxing and calming. I just felt my body recuperating from whatever it needed to. Speaking of bodies, I guess I will start with storytelling, which is something I do. So, a long time ago, I used to work for a church. As a child, I wore many masks. I had many things I was trying out and doing. And one of them was I worked at a church behind the scenes. I think I was about 13, 14, roughly. And at the church, I did many things. Like, we would prepare events, we would set all of the chairs up, we would do everything behind the scenes. It was basically free child labor. It was just basically free child labor, but I really wanted to serve what I thought was the highest good at the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? I've always had a very large issue with finding something to serve a purpose, also just finding things that I view as good to serve and to submit myself to, because that's something that I have to submit myself to these things. I don't just allow. It's a very strange thing to explain. Anyways, I worked at this church, right? And so at the church, I was also a puppeteer, and we would go to, like, low-income, poverty areas and do entertainment for children, mostly like at daycares, or even, I talk about Shriners Hospital in Galveston, and like the pediatric ward where there's lots of children who are burned. And so we would do that. It was just something we did. We'd go on missions and things like that for, like, the church, for Jesus, and all of these things. And for a moment's time, I thought it was admirable, because I was like, okay, I actually do enjoy this. I enjoy serving. So for a little while, I thought it was kind of, admirable and in alignment with my values. So I thought, this is fine. I also ended up acquiring a boyfriend, which my mother forced me to kind of go into. I didn't think he was attractive, but my mom was like, hey, this boy, you should go date him because he has a good family and prospects, right? It was just very, very uncomfortable, but I wanted to be a good person, and I suppose that being a good person was only hanging out with Christian kids and us, our little cult, essentially, just hanging out together and dating each other. And his family was well off, and he was a good person, and so my mom kept bringing these points up, which are not good points for choosing a mate. To me personally. So it was just a whole thing of me being like, I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm trying to play this role, I'm trying to serve the church, I'm trying to serve what I view as the highest good at this time, and be a good person, whatever that means. I'm trying to discover what that truly means to be a good person. And so the only thing we truly had down here was Christianity. So I found the biggest church I could, and I served. It's basically child labor. And in the biggest way, and in the funniest and most hilarious and horrific way, it was child labor. And I understood very intimately the mechanism of which a church is, which is why I kind of stand behind that we should tax churches and then take that tax money and allow people to somehow have access to free mental health care. But that's not the point. My mother kept pushing me towards a boy and dating him. And so I was like, so I came to him and said, would you like to date? Would you like to date? And he was excited and he said yes. And so from there we started dating, but he was a Christian. And so there was no like nut kissing, like kind of hugging, but not really. And just we were watched mostly by everybody at the church that would report back to their parents what we were doing because we were dating, you know. And it was a gigantic taboo to have any type of human emotions or feelings other than exhilaration for God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit. It was absolute taboo and damaging to your reputation to have human emotions at 13. Okay. At church. So anyways, it's fine. He had a decent family that really did care a lot about him, or at least, you know, this is what I'm thinking, things like that. So I, at the time, wanted to be a mortician. Still, even though I was going to church, I said, you know what, also there is this deep desire for me to go into like mortuary science, and there's an academy like in my hometown, so I think I could go and all these things. I relayed that to him. We dated for around 8 months. I relayed that to him, and it was extremely like concerning because his family and his ideals and what he thought should be reality was one way. And it falls into like, I guess the Christian ideology that women need to be submissive because they are fuck ups. They have cursed all of humankind. They failed in the Garden of Eden, and therefore they do not deserve to have an opinion. Basically, they serve as enslaved humans within a marriage, and then also producers of children. So I did not agree with that. In fact, I knew something within me was shifting because I thought that women were extraordinarily beautiful creatures. So, and like I said, I didn't really find my boyfriend attractive, which is kind of I didn't know it was a red flag at the time. So I was like, I want to be a mortician. And that was one thing I really stood behind. That's what I wanted to do. And his parents wanted him to be a doctor. You know, like, they had the whole, like, I guess people who are wealthy or something, they have, like, a life plan and, like, a 5-year goal and all of these things. Stability, perhaps. But also within the stability, there was religious madness, which caused a lot of tension within myself because I couldn't really understand how to play their game. Like, what was this family dynamic? And I truly didn't understand it, so I was observing and witnessing and being a part of as well, as trying to figure this out. So we went to dinner with his parents, and he was like, don't talk to my dad about you wanting to be kind of like a mortician. That's a little weird, Emily. Don't you think that's strange? I don't think that's a good job for a girl to have. I don't think it's a good job for a woman to have. I think that perhaps, you know, there's other jobs. Perhaps you could be a nurse or something like that. Like, you know, something more, you know, docile and tiny and small and things of that nature. More feminine. A mortician, death is a big thing and blah, blah, blah. You know, there's all these reasons he was telling me not to bring it up at dinner. But of course, his parents are curious. And so they asked, who are you? Who is this girl in my house dating my son? You know, who is this thing sitting in front of me? And so I had to present my case to his family, which was, I want to be a mortician. And I had a whole essay planned out in my head that I had already cooked up because I was like, well, I need to know how to defend myself in case anybody asks questions. So I had ran the numbers. I'd done I had analyzed all of the data for why the pros and cons of being a mortician would be relevant and good for my situation. And so I was talking to his father extremely respectfully, and I just gave him the numbers, and I said, listen, I understand that you guys probably have some reservations about me choosing this career because they treated it like this 13-year-olds were going to stay together forever and get married. And so it had to be known at that time. I had to know, I had to have the long view to see into the future and know what I wanted, and that was a signification that I could stay as his girlfriend, because truthfully his parents decided who did and did not, I don't know, become his girlfriend or whatever. They were just very Christian, very sheltered. There's a lot of conservative, extremely conservative, and they had a life, and their children were expected to fall into those roles that they had provided, and there was no room for randomness or variables, I suppose. So I ran the numbers and I told his father, and his father was just like, kind of like, he was like, okay. I saw my boyfriend's face, kind of like, fuck, she said the thing I told her not to fucking talk about at dinner. And I was like, no, I'm gonna talk about it. Obviously I like talking about things. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna tell him how I feel. I'm gonna be honest with your father. I mean, and if he doesn't like it, honestly, I was still, I don't give a fuck. And yet I don't know. So they sat there kind of in shock and horror and tried to hide it a little bit, but then his dad started hearing me a little bit and was like, I got this. So he said, wow, that's really good. That's smart. And honestly, it is a good business to get into because it, whatnot. And so then I saw my boyfriend like kind of alleviating or whatever. But this is where I'm kind of laying down the foundation of the story. I was trying to be a good person. I decided to serve at the church. We did a lot of things, like nonprofit things for the community, especially the poverty community, which I was personally a part of. So I felt good serving that cause as well. And then I ended up dating this boy who had a very conservative Christian family, and it was extremely nauseating and strange to jump through these hoops that were confusing and new to me. I didn't have a stable family. I didn't really have conservative Christian parents, and I was just learning all of these things about the area I live in and its ideals and its function, how it functions, and behind the scenes how a church organization truly works, especially a large one. How it works is basically off of free manual labor from minors. So his father agrees. Being a mortician would be a fantastic idea. I think that, all of the things you provided with me, you have changed my mind, and I do truly feel like I had a compelling enough case that I told him about how things were and how I felt like they were going to be, and it didn't matter if they agreed or not. That's what I wanted to do. So his father was like kind of in agreement with me. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then his father booked some tickets. He acquired some tickets to an exhibit that was going to be at the Houston Museum of Natural Science. And this experience changed my life forever. Absolutely changed my life forever. And so even though the relationship I had with this boy was extremely confusing and all of these things, I feel like, truthfully, I needed to be with him because the universe, I know that sounds bizarre, but there was this experience that I'm about to explain to you that shifted my life forever. And so one good thing that came out of this interaction, serving the church and all this, was this expedition to this exhibit. So his father booked some tickets, and in my head now, not at the time, of course I was 13, 14, I was a child. I was a child. I could have never done a mind Olympics with this person. He was a grown man. But now in my 30-year-old body, I can see that he did it in order to try to shock this fantasy I had in my head out of my body. So he acquired some tickets to an exhibit at the Houston Museum of Natural Science, and it was Body Worlds. And now, if you don't understand or know or are familiar with what Body Worlds is, it is a traveling exhibit of pure anatomy and physiology. It is absolute divine displays of human body parts and beings from all walks of life for scientifical and, educational purposes. They're on display mostly without their skin, in different poses and things like that, so you can witness and observe up close and personal, like these mummified, embalmed people, you, me, us, on display after death, and how their lives affected the way their intricate systems within their body formed. So now I'm about to get excited, so I better buckle up for this one. So like I said, now I see that his father did it to shock a 13-year-old little girl out of her fantasies of wanting to become a mortician. Because once we got to the museum, his dad and him were kind of repulsed by the whole thing, and his mom was just kind of like pearl clutching, things of that nature. And I was I was in complete awe. I could not believe my eyes. I was like, wow, this is everything I could ever want in an experience, in an exhibit. And I was so captivated. And I felt so much like love, and it was like I was glowing. I could feel myself radiating from within my body, so large. And every time I got close to my boyfriend, who was repulsed and sick and like making fun of things, I was so angry. It was like this beautiful light had flipped on in me, and I knew in that moment's time that's exactly what I always wanted. So we get to the exhibit, and first of all, I love traveling, and his parents always took us out on double dates to Houston. So this adventure to the museum was supposed to be another double date between him and his wife and us, and they were going to observe us to make sure we weren't holding hands or kissing and things of that nature. Extreme repression, which is also just a disgusting form of stamping out individuality and allowing your emotions to bloom as a normal human or mammal would. So here I was at this exhibit, and I'm going to explain some of the things that I saw, because it was life-changing, and it's something that I could feel myself glowing now from the inside out. I could feel myself radiating with so much love and happiness. So I'm just going to explain what it was, and if you think it's weird, that's fine. You could shut the video off, but I'm going to speak my truth. So there was this person, and I believe it was so long ago. I'm 30 and I was 13 at the time. So there was a person without their skin, and they are on display in these glass boxes, like terrariums, but like for human beings. And they're extremely large and beautifully lit, and everything is magnificent and beautiful and just so delicate and yet amazing. So there was a man without a skin, and they called him like the dresser man or the chest drawer man or the drawer man, something of that nature. I'm forgetting the name, it's fleeting, but basically it was him like kind of there without his skin, prepared in such a way where they had made these anatomical slices of perfect rectangles, such as a dresser drawer right here within his body, and some of them they pulled out so you could see from within the body certain angles that were extremely rare, that you could only see had it been this place, right? Legally, I mean. And so parts were pulled forward, and some parts were pushed in. And so from the his like chest, you could see like what the human body would look like if it was a dresser. And it was so amazing. Sorry, I'm getting excited, so I can't find words that are not like da 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 da. I'm stuttering because I'm so excited thinking about it. But so like his chest was kind of pulled out, and you could see perfectly, like, I don't know how they did it. It's magic. Like pulled out and looked at, and then also pushed in, and some parts were removed. So it was like pulled out, pushed in, so you could see like behind the cuts of how it would look like. And then there's another person that they called like the X-Men or something like that. And I believe they were like some kind of Olympic skater or something of that nature, somebody that was an athlete. And they had cross-cut their body and pulled it apart and had it like suspended from wires. And you could see their, like, obviously without their skin, so you could see all of their systems and things like that, their muscle mass. And it was so amazing and perfectly preserved. And it was wow, it felt like heaven. I felt like I was walking through like the most amazing experience ever. I love anatomy and physiology. I love it. So him and his father were kind of very, very having a physical reaction to, like, seeing dead bodies preserved and on display. And so the things that they were doing was trying to find some kind of comedic relief within this experience, because they still wanted me to feel shocked and me to go like, oh, I don't think I would like that. Oh my god, after seeing all these things on display, I don't think I could get down like this. And so they were like making fun of every time they saw a ball sack or a woman's breast or a butt or something. They were like kind of, but then they were like, which was good because it gave me free time. They were so repulsed, absolutely disgusted by where we were and what we were seeing. But I was like, this is the true definition of what I view as like fascinating. One day I'll be like this. Like, this is truth. To me, it was divine truth. It was divine truth, and that made me so happy. It made me so happy, like extraordinarily happy to see that. And these people had donated their bodies to the exhibit, this skater. And so now it was on display as art and truth. And I loved it. It was so awe-inspiring and absolutely life-changing. And so if Body Worlds comes to a city or a town near you, even if it's 2 hours away, go to it. Go to it. They also had things on display such as different parts of the body that were affected by cancers, or they had like a coal miner's lung, and so it was like the black lung in different stages of cancer, so you could see the consequences of your actions on display for everybody. And these people had donated. It wasn't like they were, how do you say, resurrectionists. They weren't robbing graves. This was not some kind of disgusting, hideous, atrocious thing to like a perversion of human nature. This was divine science and art mixing together like two serpents dancing on a pole. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, and it changed me forever. It lit a fire within me that has never gone away. That was there. I wanted to be a part of this. But so then it became, I was wandering around without my boyfriend because he was disgusted, and he was like, I'm just gonna let you go to that area. I don't want to go there. I'm gonna hang out with my dad in the corner and like joke about stuff. And so I was just being watched by them. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't care who was watching. I could have been absolutely absolutely clothless and just wandering around and not give a fuck who was staring at me. I was so locked in to this experience and reading everything and devouring all of the information, because it's just my favorite. It's my favorite. Like I said, it was art and science and the human anatomy and the magnificent things that humans are capable of, the most deepest divine forms of transformation on display for my viewing pleasure. And it was pleasurable to see all of these beautiful things. And so they had like all kinds, like I said, they had all kinds of people on display in different, sitting without, if you're familiar with Alex Grey's work, Alex Grey, if you listen to Tool, that's another thing that he's really, he collaborates with him a lot. But Alex Grey is a fantastic, amazing, beautiful, spiritual artist, him and his wife, and also his daughter, she's an actress. But they are just this beautiful spiritual family that creates art that has to do with like the human anatomy mixed with like divinity and things like that. So if you are into that, I think you would like Alex Grey. I had purchased many years ago his book, The Mission of Art, and it really changed my life. That was another thing that changed my life. So I've always felt so drawn to that. I've always felt so drawn to science and art and love and God and truth. And so, and serving all of these things, much like I feel sometimes like a mad scientist within my own self, eccentric, and people don't understand me, and that's fine because I still exist. So I must be real. It must be true that I exist. And these feelings are completely valid because humans are beautiful, and dangerous and strange, and they're just the full broad spectrum of existence that is captivating and disgusting and neat. It's a whole thing. They're a whole thing. So, but seeing people donating their bodies and it being on display in such a beautiful way and such a creative, like it was endless creativity with human bodies. And I was in love. I was smitten. I was in love. He's gay. He likes classical music. Like I was absolutely, I could have died there and been fine. And I just put my body on display. But I was too young. At the end of the exhibit, they do have a place where you can also donate your body to the exhibit for them to use different parts to create art out of and travel the world with. So I think that would be really fun to do. But also, there was these vials, these jars, like filled with embalming fluid, but they would isolate certain systems. So the capillaries, vessels, and veins within the face, they had somehow, it's like magic, isolated them within a jar. I suspended it in liquid and somehow petrified them, petrified them, made them like solid, and still, so it still had retained the human face shape, but it was just the vessels. So it was looking like, there's a movie that called Hollow Man that I really loved as a child. It was very peculiar, and there's certain scenes where he's starting to become hollow, and you could see like all of his veins and vessels and blood and things like that, and that was something that kind of like stuck inside of me. It stuck there. But it was really cool. It was like that, like the Invisible Man or something. It was so amazing. Like in this jar of formaldehyde, perhaps, or embalming fluid, there was just faces. Not faces, but yeah, there was faces and eyes and things on display. All kinds of body parts and all kinds of, like I said, there was a coal miner's lung and it was completely black, and then somebody who smoked for 40 years, and cancerous things on display, so you could see what it actually looked like. You know what I mean? We speak of things and yet they don't feel real unless you can put an image to it, unless you could truly envision something like that. It doesn't feel real when you speak on certain things that you don't have the data to pull from and be like, oh, I understand what that looks like. So when you do have the data to pull from, because you went to this glorious exhibit of art and science and humans, it feels good, and it's something that changed me for the rest of my life. And it was so sad because it was such a strange experience. That experience was so unique and strange, and the community I was a part of was the church group, and the only reason his dad booked the tickets was to make this little girl's fantasies of wanting to be a mortician not real, because it was supposed to shock me. He had a very specific goal in mind, and it was extremely manipulative. Unfortunately, and thank goodness, that it didn't work, and in fact, it just made me feel more compelled to do more research on body parts, and also to collect taxidermy, and sometimes I'd go pick up a roadkill. Sometimes, honestly, I'm just gonna be honest, I would pick up roadkill and take pictures of different things that I found to be fascinating, like, decaying things and whatnot, because the process of decay was also extraordinarily interesting to me to witness. The stages of death and to understand it. Death is a very confusing thing, and life is also extremely confusing. But what happens when there is no life? What happens when the seashell gets pulled away from the shoreline and it loses its luster? What happens? So yeah. So if anything, it just tainted me. That experience tainted me in the most glorious way. It made me more compelled and created a compulsion within me to continue doing research on this stuff. So I think that, like, looking back, like I said, he tried to do this to manipulate this feeling out of me, to make me more submissive, to fit into like his Christian ideology, and the way he wanted his daughter-in-law eventually in the future, in the far future, to exist and to be like submissive. It was a strange how do you say, it was a strange series of events that he was trying. He had a plan, and he was trying to do something to me. He was trying to use me and make me into his thing, try to mold me, I suppose. And at such a young age, I still had like such a huge issue with submitting to things that I did not agree with. And so one thing is I didn't agree with his father. I think that the world is large enough for everybody to have these really open, intimate, big boy discussions. Even a 13-year-old who has desires or wishes, I think it's important to listen to everybody on any level, whatever age they are, young or old or in between, and to have enough compassion and like tolerance to sit there and listen to their story and how they feel, because it has nothing to do with me. Truly, his father wanting a certain outcome for his daughter-in-law or whatever had nothing to do with me. What had something to do with me was my life and my feelings and the way my experiences were and things like that. And so going to Body Worlds really shaped and shifted my life. And it's a story that I tell now, but at the time I couldn't tell anybody because I was a good Christian girl and I went to church and I served and I worked at the church and I was a puppeteer on the weekends and we handed out flyers and this and that and that. You know, I was just looking for the highest good, like not consciously, but I was truly seeking out the best thing I could and trying to submit myself to it, which is something that I still not struggle with to this day, but I catch myself doing. If I can resonate with something, I feel like, okay, this is something that I will allow myself to be a part of. So after we broke up, because he had threatened to physically we ended up breaking up. I ended up breaking up with him because he said something to me that I was not going to allow to happen. And it was kind of like, the only thing holding me here really was my mom, who wanted me to date you. So we ended up breaking up, which I'm extremely grateful for, because he ended up trying to possess and control me, much like his father did. And I don't want anyone to possess or control me. I have a huge issue with that. So whenever he figured it out that he couldn't control me or possess me, such as like I was an item or something like that and not a human, he said some things to me that were extremely alarming and basically threatened to do what people would call a domestic on me had I not like listened to what he said and been a good girlfriend. And so at that moment, I held it in and I was like, wow, I'm really sorry. And I just played the like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, until I got out of the situation. And then I broke up with him. Then I went home and I said, I'm never going to let anybody treat me like this. And then I broke up with him, which then like caused this whole cataclysm within him constantly like trying to show up at my house and stalk me, and me having to tell him that nobody's going to hit me and nobody's going to threaten to hit me. And so I don't give a fuck if you are Jesus Christ incarnated. You can eat shit. And it went from this me trying to do the right thing to me seeing that this is what I really want with my life, to him trying to control me because his father's attempts to shake out the mortuary science fascination within myself, to him saying like, oh no, like, I'm bigger than you, I could do whatever I want, I'm a man, and that's what my ideals and my church and my religion and my father and everything says. That's what every man I've ever heard says, is that women aren't valuable unless they are serving, and so you shall do what I say or I'm going to physically hurt you. And it's something deep and dark within me snapped whenever he said that. And like I said, I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry I upset you and all these things. But then as soon as I left his presence, I can feel this divine headhunter creeping and crawling within me and snapping and just like I have this thing within me. If somebody does something like that to me, I don't play. I don't play. I don't play like that. That's not a game. Domestic violence is not a game. And so I just cut people off and I just end it right there. And so that's what I did. And I ended it. And he kept showing up at my house, compulsively showing up at my house and banging on my door and telling me that how it's going to be. And I was like, and so then that like divine headhunter within me was just like, if you ever show up here again, I will fucking unhinge my jaw and devour you all. Just girly things like having to defend yourself from a psychotic, religiously traumatized human being. Just girly things. But yeah, it was the end of that relationship was extremely confusing for me. And I suppose that it's just gross. It's like somebody trying to control you. Like a dog. I'm not a dog. I'm a human being, honey. Honey, I'm a human. I have my own feelings. I'm not you, and I'm not your Barbie. I'm not your toy. I was looking for God. I was looking for something divine and magnificent to serve, and you are not it. So goodbye. It's just gross. Anyways, so then he was stalking me, and I told him, he showed up at my house with his parents, and he was like, we're all going, you're coming with me now. You're coming with me to Houston. We're going to go spend the night in Houston. You're coming with me now, after I had already broken up with him. And I was like, here's a thought. I'm not going to fucking go with you anywhere, you psychotic piece of shit. And if you ever try to put your hands on me again, one or two things is going to happen. I am either no longer going to be here, or you are no longer going to be here. And that's how it's going to go. Thank you so much. Slam the door, lock it, and be like, leave him the fuck out there. I was in like a multiple family situation where multiple families lived in one house. And so, everybody was like, why don't you take him back? He said he was sorry. Why? I don't understand. He's a good man. He comes from a good family. They have money. Don't you want to leave this and go venture out and have a husband who is going to be a doctor and has money? No. No, I don't care about money. Are you kidding? He threatened to hit me, and you want me to go back to him? I don't think so. I would rather live in a box under a bridge and juggle for pennies on the dollar than ever be somebody's Barbie that they continuously rip the head off of and expect to go sew herself back up. I do not think you understand. I appreciate the experience, and unfortunately that life lesson was extremely difficult and confusing and pathetic, because you don't own people. I'm not your thing. I am alive. I have thoughts and feelings and desires, and it was so disgusting to see not just my mother telling me, just go take him back. He made a mistake, Emily. He made a mistake. I'm sure that you guys can make amends. Yeah, perhaps in the graveyard. Of course, yeah. So you want me to go to Houston with him alone? Without a cell phone? And what happens then, smartass? What the fuck happens then? So here I am, 13 years old, having to have a serious evolution within my body. Number one, the exhilaration of body worlds, and wow, and then number two, this repressed, strange creature and individual who I only got involved with because we were both going to church, and I suppose that's how things were supposed to be, correct? Boys and girls get together, and good Christians, they listen to their parents, and the layers of the 1950s layers of how life is supposed to go to make a good formula of the nuclear atomic family, and how each role within that was supposed to be. And yet I could feel something. I can hear a frequency that only I could hear. because it seems like nobody else could hear it. Nobody else was listening. Nobody else could feel it. And it was this low, sweet, dark, magnetic pull to science and to understanding things and to dissecting and understanding and looking and questioning. And I loved questions. My mom used to tell me when I was younger, she would be like, this is going to sound gross, and I'm sorry. I'm about to say something that sounds gross. She was like, it's like you have diarrhea mouth. You just won't shut up. You won't stop talking. You won't shut up. You won't stop asking questions. At a very young age, I was asking very big boy questions she did not have answers to. So for a long time, I sat there with all of these questions with no answers, and it hurt so bad. It was like somebody was putting out fire on my skin. Like, it was burning. I had this a real true burning within me to have these questions answered, and I would ask them and people couldn't answer them. They told me, shut up and just show your work on your paper and don't fucking ask those questions. You answer the ones that are before you and don't ask ones that are that weird, you know? All of these things being said, if you ever find yourself within a situation like that where somebody is trying to possess, use, threaten, and use all of these nefarious ways to control you, leave. And if you can't leave, lie, hide, save money until you can. Reach out, tell somebody, leave a note. Don't ever stay, and don't ever go with them anywhere. Hey, Kiki. Don't ever go with them anywhere alone. Don't do it. Don't do it. At a very young age, I knew I had some things happen within my family. My aunt was chopped up and put into a barrel. She was murdered. So there was already an understanding within my psyche of violence against women existed, and men like that were dangerous. Men who wanted to possess women were dangerous. So that was already there. That was already a seat. That was already a throne in my head. And seated there was this divine head huntress who refused to allow somebody to take and possess me like an animal in a cage. And so if you're in that situation, please get out. It's better to get out. I always say this, but it's true. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You're going to find somebody else, somebody who will respect you. And that wasn't the first boyfriend who would ever threaten to do something to me. I guess I have that kind of a face or something that people want to possess and control and use and manipulate and form and put. But I have an issue with submitting to things that I don't agree with. I have an issue with people telling me that, like, they're either attracted or repulsed. You know what I mean? It's either immediate attraction or repulsion to me. Or it's like, in the strangest way, and this is going to sound kind of gross and gritty and raw, but it's either people either wanted to fight me or, you know, like, fuck me kind of thing. And it was, or both. Okay, let me say this in a nicer way. People either wanted to fight me or do me, or both. And I didn't agree with that dance. I don't like it. I don't care about it. I'd rather be alone. I would rather spend time with my astrological magazines from 1987 and do research on on things, various topics, than have to fucking interact with people. So yeah, all that being said, number one, I accidentally got myself into kind of a thing there, but I got myself out of it. And whenever I mention to people that sometimes I have to fight my way out of things that I get into, that's kind of what I mean, is that I had to really, I literally had to fight my way out of that relationship that was extremely toxic and peculiar and strange, and yet I thought I was doing the right thing. Because, like I said, he was a good Christian boy and things of that nature. Notice I didn't say anyone's name. I didn't say anybody's name. I wasn't name dropping. I didn't call anybody out. It could have been anybody. And in fact, the story could be a complete fabrication. It could be a lie. I could just be a lying sack of shit. You never know. You never know. And that's not the point, whether the story is or is not, or whether I am or am not. The point of the story is you're going to take away from it whatever you need to take away from it. And what I hope you take away from it is that, number one, at least there's a couple of, tiny little PowerPoint dots I'd like for you to understand consciously. Is number one, you need to follow that divine light and inspiration within yourself, and do not allow it to submit to any man, woman, or creature on earth. If you feel a certain way so passionately, raw, beautiful passion, then you should follow it. Number two, don't ever let anybody put you in that kind of a situation. Tell somebody, reach out, and if everybody's telling you to go back to that person, block all those people. Fuck that. That's wrong. Don't ever go back to somebody who has threatened to hurt you because you said no, because you put boundaries, because you said no, because they got something confused up their ass wrong, and now they want to harm you. They want to physically cause harm to you because they have an issue within themselves that has nothing to do with you. There's a confusion, a mix-up, a mash-up, something going on with them psychologically. Does that have anything to do with you? No, honey, it does not. It doesn't. So, number one, leave them. Escape. Go. I don't give a fuck if they're millionaires. Who gives a fuck? You think that money is really going to stop any kind of thing that is? It's not. It's truly not important. There's been times where it's not worth it. Staying with someone for money is not worth you physically getting harmed. Do you understand? So I need you to take that into consideration. No money on planet Earth under the sun is worth you being hurt, manipulated, used as a Barbie, unless you want it to happen, unless that's something you truly want. I did not want to be used in the way that he wanted. I didn't. I said no. It's a full sentence. N-O. No. No. It's a full sentence. So, all of these things being said, fuck him. Fuck it. Who gives a fuck? And if he keeps coming up to your house, tell him no. Slam the door in his face. Oh, he's going to threaten you, hurt you. Reach out. Call the cops. Get a restraining order. I had to threaten him to say I was going to get a restraining order if you showed up at my house again. And he would come to school and cry in the hallways and expect me to take him back after threatening physical harm on me, and that wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. I would rather die. I would rather die than you ever put your fucking disgusting hands on me. And if I did die, I would find a way to come back and rip you apart. So I think that just from this story, like I said, there's a couple things. You could take away from it whatever you want. You could take away from it that I'm just whatever. I don't really care what you do take away from it. But something that I personally have been fighting with is there's this issue within myself that I have to come to terms with. And like I said, there's people that either want to be with me or fight me, or sometimes both. Immediate reaction. And it's fine. It's whatever. It has nothing to do with me, honestly. People's reactions and ideas and whatever people think about me has nothing to do with me. One day I'm not going to exist anymore in this body, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, sorry. I'm so sorry. So one day I cannot be here, okay? There's a very limited time on this earth, and the people that are here are the people that I'm kind of stuck with for a while. It's our little earth group, right? So, but something that I would like you to really think about is the people in your life and the situations that situations that they bring to the table, and whether or not they should have a seat at your table, perhaps. Whether or not, you should allow them even into your house. You don't have to let anybody into your house, your body, your temple, your divine, holy little cage for your Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Ghost that haunts these bones kind of thing. You need to protect it. And it is divine and it is beautiful and you are amazing and immaculate. But here's the thing, the type of people that sit at your table are the types of conversations that are being recorded upon the ripples and waves within your brain. They're the type of mirror, the type of experiences that they bring shift you, change. They, Sean Connery, they shift and change you and mold you to an extent. And so there's nothing wrong with kicking somebody out of your house or removing their plate from the table and telling them that they don't need to be here necessarily in your life, providing you with such disgusting atmosphere. I don't know how to explain this in a way that makes sense. Not everybody deserves a seat at your table or to eat with you. Just because they exist doesn't mean that you have to entertain them. It is not your job to be everything that they need. It is their job to fulfill their own needs. And what they need to do is get the fuck out of my face. I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. It's a lot of things to deal with. Confusion at the age of puberty, 13, being a very young individual, confused about the reality and if God is real and if God isn't, and death and life and permanence and impermanence, and then also trying to serve the highest good you could find within the realm that you live in, the city, the town, the state, and area that I was within, and then trying to do what everyone was saying was right, doing it by the book, like I said, the 1950s housewife etiquette, while still trying to play this role and be everything. And then also inside of me there was always this person, me. I was always inside of me, no matter what kind of mold was tacked onto me and covering me. There was still this there's a great book called Warming the Stone Child. Warming the Stone Child. And there's also The Women Who Run with Wolves. There's a lot of beautiful books written by fantastic people who represent divine femininity, in my personal opinion. And like The Women Who Run with Wolves, there's another Audible called Mother Night, Seeing in the Dark. There's also The Woman Who Glows in the Dark. There's a lot of I like listening to stories. So Warming the Stone Child helped me, but within, like I said, within this thing that people kept tacking onto me, like, here's how you should act, you should go date this guy, he has money, don't you want to be a normal person, don't you want to look normal, you should dye your hair this way, you should do this, you should do, pulling and shaping and forming and everything and ripping and grabbing and grasping and trying to make me into a normal person. The curtains open and I'm sitting there like, from all of the different people pulling and this and that and explaining and telling and shaping and forming and all of this very confusing friction of being a 13. And then on the inside I was like, I would like to be a mortician. And everyone being like, no! You're weird! You cannot be weird. Don't you look normal now? We made you look normal. Now go find a normal husband and be normal. No! He has money. Don't you want to go be with him? No! I want somebody to love me for who I am. And I guess that person is me. Ta-da! When you take off the mask and you look in the mirror and you see that the person you've been seeking the whole time has been yourself, it is a beautiful experience. And yet getting there, playing all of these roles, wearing all of these masks, and like I said, being pulled and formed and shaped and dyed and cut and slapped and things, and then the curtains fly open and now they're like, now act, sing, monkey, and I'm just like, and then the curtains close and they're like, okay, now go back into the box, go back into the cage, and then we're gonna pull you out tomorrow and make you do the whole thing again. Sorry, I got excited and heated explaining things. So I think I suppose the best thing you can do is cut people out. The best thing you can do is learn how to use an axe for okay. Everybody's born on a specific day, and within the Mayan cosmology and sometimes the Aztec cosmology as well, we are born with certain gifts. Now, there's something called the obsidian blade, and it is this beautiful rock that is not created from like atoms forming and to make the shape, such as like growing on a matrix, as other geological like rocks and minerals are grown. They're grown from on the inside. They have a structure. They have some type of atomical structure that happens, and then they grow in that way. There's an intelligence behind crystals that are within the earth, developing via radiation. Now, obsidian is formed and shaped in such a divine, beautiful way. It is, first of all, created via volcanic eruption. It is something that is very sharp, and yet it casts a true reflection. It is a black mirror. Now, within this black mirror, the subconscious, the psyche, the things that are dwelling in the deep, it comes from out of the earth and blows up and creates and destroys. It creates new land and it destroys things, but out of this divine destruction is this beautiful form of creation that is not only making new land for you to live on, to create a new type of life, but it is fostering this spirit. There's a special spirit that is within the obsidian that you can make it into tools. You can use it to cut. So you can use it to heal, or you can use it to kill. You can use it to become a divine surgeon of your own psyche and to cut the things out that you no longer need, or the people out that you no longer need or wish to serve or wish to keep company with, which there's nothing wrong with. But it's important that you also keep the obsidian close to you as a mirror. It is your shadow. It is a reflection of how things are, how they really are. And within a black mirror, I find that you could just see things more clearly. For some reason, the colors are richer. When I look at a mirror that's made of, like the silver backing mirrors, or the mirrors we have, a regular mirror, it's almost like I can't see things correctly. Every mirror, it shapes and forms in different ways. People say, oh, it's just that mirror. It's just the way that mirror was created within the factory, correct? But with obsidian, when you look into a black glass mirror, an obsidian mirror, everything is like very real and very solid, and it feels like it casts a better picture of things. So what I'm saying to you in the nicest way possible is that you need to understand how volcanoes work, what happens between the divine creation and destruction, where your Pluto placement is within your birth chart, because there you'll find these glorious mountains that are slumbering giants. And then from that point, you can see how it affects every other aspect of your life. Where does he come from? Where does this divine destruction and creation truly exist? What seat is he at? Where is his throne? In what realm does he exist? I can hear him, I can feel him, but I can't necessarily see him. Sometimes it takes a lot to sit there and to dive into that black mirror and to see within the glass that is from within the earth, because it is this beautiful black glass, and it is like just the prettiest beautiful shiniest thing, and it is not formed from atoms stacking on top of each other and it growing. It is formed out of, it doesn't have a structure within it geologically that is stable, or it comes from the earth. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. It comes from the holy divine mother matrix. It's so amazing, and it's feminine and also dark, is the deep dark velvet, right? So learn how to use obsidian to heal your psyche, to cut these people out. It's okay to cut people out. It's okay to cut people out. It's okay that you have nobody sometimes. Sometimes it's just okay that you have yourself, as long as you love yourself. And the moment you start hating yourself, it's just a signal to dive deeper and see what's happening. What's going on? The moment you are out of balance with yourself, or you feel the tension, you're vibrating too harsh, and things are too loud or whatever, you need to fulfill your needs. Go back into yourself. Listen to those inner child, like, how do you say, the inner child desires. Like, I was always interested in taxidermy and understanding and questioning and figuring things out. So how can I meet those needs? How can I honor that holy inner divine child instead of constantly being, a puppet for others and a distraction for them? Because truthfully, we all have our own path that we're on. It is individual. You can't help me. I can't help you. When you stand at the crossroads, there is something I heard one time, and it is that someone's asking, where are you going? And it's like, well, you don't really know. You don't know that question, because only I know where I'm going and I'm supposed to be. We can walk together for an extent, but truthfully, there's going to be a point where our roads fork, and I won't be with you anymore, and you won't be with me, and no amount of skirt tail riding will ever make you, will never help. So truth be told, it is an individual walk. It's a dance with yourself you have to do. It's internal, and it sometimes is external, but those external events sometimes are triggering to an internal mechanism and a thing that is brewing underneath the surface. And it's important for you to be intimate with yourself in a way that you can have that total free conversation within your own self. Like, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. I'm having a bodily reaction to it. I need to honor myself and figure out what this is, why I'm so uncomfortable, and then move forward from there. But, was there any way a 13-year-old little girl could have truly went toe-to-toe with a 40-year-old man? No. There was no way that I could have ever truly identified what was happening, what game was being played, because it was at such a level I was not familiar with. I wasn't familiar with their culture. I wasn't familiar with that. I was being introduced. I was submitting myself to the experience, but I wasn't familiar with the way that their family navigated life. So, yeah, anyways, all of these things being said, I have to go. Number one, don't ever allow somebody who threatens your existence to have a seat at your table. Remove them completely. Whatever it takes, remove them completely. Get safe, reach out. There are groups, there are numbers, there are people, there are avenues you could take within the legal system as well. There are many, many things you could do, but do not go anywhere with them alone. Don't do it. Don't do it. Be smart enough and wise enough and trust yourself enough that you will find support, but you cannot put yourself in that situation. And do not. I don't give a fuck if they promise love, $1 million, a fancy ride on a private jet, all of the fame in the world. If you just come with me alone somewhere after they threaten your existence, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. Only allow people to sit at the table with you that you wish to play with, that you wish to have spars with, that can respect the banter that you have, the back and forth, the funness, the funness. Don't allow the people to sit at your table that just want to use you for their personal gain, financial or any other way, or as a distraction because they have work within themselves that they need to do. We all have work that we need to do. We all have these things that we serve within ourselves, this divine blueprint that is on the inside of our hearts and minds and in the stars written, and that expresses itself through our experience daily. And you'll get confirmation from things that you're on the right path. You'll become successful if you follow yourself and your love. And it's not going to be for everybody. Success isn't always the entire world worshiping you and loving you and you getting all the money in the world and all these things. Sometimes success is just one person being like, I get it. Thank you. Wow. Sometimes that's success. And That's fine. It's fine. Just love yourself, respect yourself. No is a full sentence. No. Nope. Wrong. Don't. Stop. No. Stop it. You know, that's a it's a full sentence. And yeah, don't lose yourself because you think that somebody else needs to love you. Nobody else needs to love you. You need to love yourself. Okay, I'm going to go. But yes, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to have to put a trigger warning somewhere in here for domestic violence and yeah, stuff like that. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.